Hey guys, press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Pinkvilla.
For me, each and every piece is a collector's item. I would like to have all of them with me to be archived.
I think with every piece, when we would visit Bombay and meet Sanjay sir, we both would stand with the piece, just looking at his face for his reaction. For every time, it's like a test. Like, I hope he likes the pieces and how would he react. But yeah, fortunately, we've been on the same page with sir, and I hope he's happy.
Most of the times, I would say.
Yeah. And this is the result as what you see.
Basically, our design sense comes from a very personal sense of who we are as people.
As designers, we don't fall prey to following blind trends. Our designing is very intuitive. So whatever comes in our journey, whatever we come across is what we incorporate in our designs.
Mr. Bhansali is a great mentor, I would say, to work with.
I think he's always evolving with his designs. One day he'll come and say, "Okay, good job. This is good." But then he will again.
So once he's put everything together and we all think it's the best, it does not finish there, and there is always. Probably this is one thing we've learned from him, that there's always scope to make it better and better,
and his quest
that does not finish.
Achieve the best is so inspiring.
And the good thing is that we got a lot of time to do everything, because none of the costumes that you see are costumes that can be made in a short period of time. You need, some outfits actually took 6 months. Started with weaving various textiles in Banaras or in down south, or in
the
Gota.
garments had their own journey.
Yeah.
You remember the embroideries were done somewhere else. The
and then
printing
they were going
was
for
done in
printing
Rajasthan.
In Rajasthan.
It was a very tedious process.
Here was a film which needed, employing all the crafts, and mainstream cinema usually does not have that. What I feel about other films and what happens is that very little time is given to the costume designers, and they are just going and pulling things and over-dyeing or just fixing it. Here you get all the time. You have the luxury to take 6 months, make a garment.
What we learnt in this process of going through the research process and making these costumes was how we as designers don't want to step out of the comfort zone, and how we can make we can make kitsch also look very luxury. We can make our organic fabrics which are developed totally in India, textiles which are Indian, are also very luxury.
Having said that, our research could have been very generic, but then Mr. Bhansali also wanted us to form a signature for Deepika's character.
Her character, her strength, her emotions, her which captures everything around the character as Padmavati.
So there's lot of detailing and from various aspects that goes into creating costumes of a film like this, and that was where my perspective changed of what we did.
We never thought of the commercial aspect at that time, and we just wanted to give whatever best we could to the film in our own way.
But we are quite surprised the day the trailer was on or out, or the posters have been out. We've been getting a lot of calls from various clients, new and old, and inquiries if they can come and have a look, and obviously right now they can't because the film is not out, and it's just that
that's been very surprising, that there's been a very overwhelming response amongst the clients, our existing clients and new clients and everything.
Even grooms want
they're talking about the look of Shahid, which is like very regal and royal, but little did we think about that. At that time, I think the challenge was to give our best.
Fortunately, there are not too many surviving textiles from that period.
Yeah.
And for that we had to also study a lot of murals, a lot of miniature art, and see what clothing was it like. But I must say something that once we knew what we needed to make, once we had our designs ready on paper and the concepts that we were going to work on, started a new challenge with us, and that was finding the artisans, the karigars or various centers of doing those things, and sometimes trying to find older artisans to explain the techniques to the younger people. That was one big challenge.
But you know, Harpreet, what came handy was our last collection, which we did. It was called the Maharaja and Company, which was showcased at the India Couture Week in Delhi. I think knowingly or unknowingly, I think our research started back then. Yeah. We did that collection on the royalty of India, and little did we know that time that something like this was planned our way, or God had already planned it, destined it for us. But yeah, so I would say I think the planning or the research started way before.
I always feel we were always making clothes for this, though this is one opportunity of the lifetime. But I feel it just started way before then we actually got on board.
So our previous collection, I must say, came very handy when we had our first meeting with Mr. Bhansali and of what we are going to do.
But I think that was just the beginning.
The challenges came much later then, when Mr. Bhansali wanted us to be more perfect in what we are going to do. If I'm a very simple person, I would wear a beautiful orna, any orna from the movie, which is like a beautiful heavy dupatta with a plain outfit. I'm happy with that. Talking about royal costumes and the Kalidar Ghagras, which we all talk about, I think an outfit like this, which you see here, is what is a full circle skirt, which has about 80 kalis in it, and the whole embroidery done on this is all handwork. Mostly the material used in a ghagra like this is all zardozi, kasab and gota. And as we all know, the royal costumes which come from Rajasthan as a whole belt, and when we think of Rajasthan, we think of color. So looking at this costume, you would feel exactly what we've been talking about as the royal costumes. So when we talk about certain prints that we got developed this time for the costumes of this film called Padmavati, if you have a look at this Jama outfit here, so these are the kind of vegetable prints which are on hand dyed materials, and the blocks which are used are very intricate, and each block sometimes have a color division of about 5 to 6 colors, and this is the kind of motifs which you will see a lot probably in the costumes. Some of them are displayed here and here. So these are all vegetable dyes, and the silhouettes are all jamas.
Costumes have also had their own journey, because we were getting our textiles, our fabric woven from different centers, getting them printed in different centers. Embroideries were happening at other places. A lot of stitching and a lot of hand stitching was happening, because there are certain chogas or jamas or angrakhas in the film which have been hand stitched completely, because you cannot get that silhouette right if you put it on the machine for it to be stitched. So Rajasthan, as we know, is also a center for prints, and we were getting a lot of our prints developed from Sanganer, Banku, and then also very beautiful areas that happen in Rajasthan, and we had come across some very intricate areas in some museums, and we tried to use them in turbans as well as the costumes. Also, Rajasthan being a very hot state, the royalties have always been wearing cottons and malmals. How to look at cottons and malmals and see luxury and that sense of ornate royalty in it was also something that was very inspiring, and what we used in the film.
Besides textiles, not only the textiles, I think the embroidery techniques and the gota, which is very elaborately used in the costumes of this film, as we all know that the costumes of this film majorly involves the Mewar belt, where the Raja Ratan Singh is from, and then the Queen Padmavati, as we all know her. So she becomes the Mewar Queen. So not only the textiles but the embroideries which you see are very Rajasthan driven. Gota is one of the essential embroidery material which is used in Rajasthan, and we've done extensive research in doing Gota. It's not the plastic or the imitate, you know,
A new
the
Gota that we
imitation
get
Gota
these
that
days
we
in the
get these
market.
days. We haven't definitely used that. We've actually gone back, done our full research, found out a few special karigars who are still doing the same techniques of embroideries, and gone ahead with those. The costings were definitely higher, but then to achieve the look which Mr. Bhansali wanted, it was very essential for us to go ahead with the old Gota techniques. In Padmavati, I think each character had its own distinctive style in the journey to portray. Deepika is from Sinhala, as we all know, and there's a journey which is from there to becoming a Mewar queen. Raja Raval Ratan Singh is a Rajput king, and he has his own journey of being a happy king to someone who's been invaded by Sultan Khilji. Now the character of a young Khilji played by young Ranveer has his own journey. So every character was had its own challenges which we had to face. In a project like this, in a movie like this, I think costumes have a role to play. They take the narrative forward. See, while designing the costumes for the great Alauddin Khilji, played by Ranveer in the movie Padmavati, a lot of elements were taken into consideration, which primarily, first one was the nomadic influence, which I think we had to research the whole belt from his Turkish origins to from Afghanistan to Kazakhstan. I think this is the belt which we followed for Khilji to give him that robust, powerful, yet very dark look. I think the color palette chosen was towards the browns, sometimes blacks, blues, earthy color tones, but yet very dark. With his costumes, we had to make sure that the feel of the Sultan of Delhi, the powerful Sultan of Delhi, were depicted in his character while doing his clothes. A lot of thick matty fabrics, jutes were taken as material for his clothing, and his silhouettes, the silhouettes designed for Alauddin Khilji were kept different from as what the jamas and the kurtas were for at that time, which were for the Indian kings or the Mughal kings. So the silhouettes were kept very different. The styling was kept very different from that.
Usually most of the costumes that you see in this film have a large volume. The ghagras that have been used for Padmavati's character are mostly ghagras which are 80 kalis, sometimes going up to 120 kalis. So that's a lot of volume, and then there are layers to it. The ornas are quite, the ornas that are used in Rajasthan are much wider than the dupattas that are used today. And as she just said before, that the gotas that we have used are all made from real copper and sometimes silver, or they're electroplated with silver. Me and Rimple, we've always believed that if we use imitation materials, they are going to look like that. They'll never give you the what a real item used in a costume would look like. There's no substitute to it. There's an involvement of so many kinds of craft in every single garment that saying three things to make a Rani Padmavati look is very difficult to say, but what I can say is that hand woven textiles, layering prints on other prints, also with various dyeing techniques, and creating surface textures with Gota and hand embroideries that have been used in the film. Those are the key elements if I was just to put together 3 or 4, but actually there are way more kinds of crafts that have gone into creating these looks. Mostly the clothes that we've made for Shahid's character have a warrior-like feel to them. Although the chogas and the angrakhas that have been made are with using a lot of kota and fine malmal and using a lot of print to it, most of the garments that have been made have been hand stitched. The whole look and feel of the garments is very subtle. The turbans have been very beautifully printed, and very thin gota lines have been used on the turbans as well to give a little bit of signature to that particular character. A very interesting part of our work for this film has been the lehriyas that we've created for this film, and some of the lehriyas, like you see in Shahid's turban in the trailer, it has 24 colors, and it had to be dyed. It had to be tied and dyed 24 times to get that kind of an effect. So for us, revisiting old prints was very exciting, and lehriyas and bandage and all of that. And if people like it, I'm sure they'll make a mark in the market, and there will be people looking and asking for it. We will definitely take a few months breather after this, and
No, but I think we're waiting for Sanjay sir's call for the next.
yeah,
next
once he
one.
has his next project, and if he considers us again, why not?
I hope you enjoyed this segment of our journey with Padmavati costumes as much as we love talking about it. And for more such stories, like, comment, share and subscribe to Pinkvilla.
Pinkvilla.